Wings heavy with gray sludge, 35 kilometers per hour. The only number that matters when the air holds just 65% of what lungs expect. They beat against an atmosphere too thin to forgive, against ash settling at 2 millimeters every hour, against the mathematics of impossible flight. The pink ghosts must rise, or become the stones beneath them. To understand how they arrived here, we must descend to where the earth bleeds red. There exists a place where water does not cleanse but dissolves. The Red Mirror. 60 square kilometers of brine so caustic it measures pH 10.5, triggering alkaline hydrolysis, turning unprotected tissue into soap within hours. Borax islands rise like jagged bone from crimson fluid that shimmers with mineral heat. Here, at 4,300 meters, where most life would liquefy, they have found sanctuary in poison. The Andean Flamingos. The specialists, the only ones who can drink from the burning lake. "20 pulses per second. The bill sweeps through caustic slurry with mechanical precision, a rhythm older than the Andes themselves. Each stroke filters diatoms so small they exist at the boundary of visibility, suspended in water that would strip flesh from bone. This is not feeding. This is alchemy. Converting toxicity into sustenance, generation after generation, while volcanic peaks watch in silence. The Altiplano has always demanded transformation from those who would call it home. They move as one organism, tens of thousands strong, their collective breath rising as steam in the thin air. The pink ghosts, locals whisper, though there is nothing spectral about their presence. Each bird carries the chemical signature of this place in their feathers, carotenoids scavenged from microscopic algae that thrive in the caustic void. Rose and magenta against ash-gray stone. A living stain on a dead world. But something ancient stirs within them now. The journey begins. They leave the obsidian rim at dawn, when low-angle sun turns the volcanic glass to molten gold. Wings spread in synchrony, catching thermals that spiral upward from heated basalt. Below, the terrain shifts, shallow caustic pools giving way to deeper basins where the brine thickens to syrup. Each wing beat in air this thin burns energy like flame consumes paper. But they do not hesitate. Instinct carved over millennia pulls them south, toward the place where their kind have always returned, where the water runs redder still. Night falls with mathematical brutality. The thermal gradient measures a delta 45 degrees Celsius shift, from plus 20 degrees at sunset to minus 25 degrees by midnight. Their metabolic rate increases by 12% just to maintain core temperature, burning reserves accumulated over months of filtering poison. They stand in the shallows, legs locked, while borax crystallizes around their ankles. The caustic water that sustains them by day becomes a trap when darkness falls. Some do not see morning. Their bodies will yield to the pH tax, leached into the very brine that made them. This is the price of being specialists. Laguna Colorada spreads before them like a wound in the Earth's surface. The water here runs deeper red, iron oxide and microscopic algae combining to paint liquid the color of arterial blood. The borax islands rise sharper here, crystalline formations that glitter with reflected magenta. This is the proving ground, where the strongest will transmit their adaptations forward, where the ancient chemical contract between bird and poison will be renewed. They wade into water that would blind most creatures, building reserves for what comes next. The dance begins at peak carotenoid saturation, when their plumage burns brightest with stolen pigment. Wing flagging, head turning, movements precise as clockwork, rehearsed through evolutionary deep time. This is not courtship, it is chemical signaling, proof of filtration efficiency, proof that they have extracted maximum nutrition from maximum toxicity. The strongest wear their competence as color, rose-pink declarations against volcanic gray. 20 sweeps per second, even now. The mechanical rhythm continues as pair bonds form, ephemeral as the season, eternal as the cycle. They build their nests from mud, so alkaline it burns exposed skin, truncated cones rising above the caustic waterline. A single egg, pale blue-green, precious beyond measure. The parents take turns standing guard, while heat distortion makes the horizon shimmer and dissolve. Each transfers their own pigment into the developing life within the shell, their plumage fading from rose to translucent white within 72 hours. They are pouring themselves into the future, literally draining color from their own feathers to fuel the next generation's first breath. The strongest sacrifice becomes the palest. This is the paradox of transmission. Stillness descends on the colony, like volcanic ash. Thousands of birds, motionless, conserving every calorie, while the high-altitude sun hammers down. The sizzling stasis. You can hear the borax crystals cracking as thermal expansion stresses the lattice. You can smell the sulfurous vents breathing beneath the water's surface. Sharp, metallic. The olfactory signature of a world fundamentally hostile to vertebrate life. Yet here they wait, silent sentinels over fragile shells, while the altiplano tests their commitment. Patience is survival here. The obsidian rim exhales. Uturunku, the sleeping giant, convulses in its slumber, sending columns of ash 30,000 meters skyward. Gray particulate rain begins to fall, settling at 2 millimeters per hour, coating everything. The water turns to gray sludge. The air thickens with silicate dust. Each grain is microscopic glass, sharp enough to shred the delicate lamellae inside their bills, the very structures that allow them to filter survival from poison. wing loading mass increases by 15%. The mathematics of flight begin to fail. They cannot leave. The chicks are too young, shells too thin, futures too fragile. So they stand, breathing ash, as their respiratory systems begin to fail. The dust clogs everything. Bills, nares, the microscopic channels that separate food from toxin. Night brings the thermal plunge, and now the crystalline lockout. Their legs undergo molecular arrest into the brine, encased in lattices of ice and salt. Locked in place while ash continues to fall. This is the breaking point, where specialization becomes a tomb. But they do not break. Immobility becomes strategy. The anchor vigil. By standing absolutely still, they minimize surface area exposed to falling ash. By pressing together, they share thermal mass against the night's assault. Metabolic rate drops to barely measurable levels, a controlled shutdown of the biological machine. They are balancing on the knife edge of exothermic depletion, trusting that dawn will come, that the sun will return, that ice will unlock before permanent damage sets in. This is what it means to be specialists, to wait, stilled by thermal arrest, while the world turns gray. To trust the mathematics of mourning. The sun climbs. Ice shatters. Legs move again. And from beneath the ash coating, gray, downy forms emerge. Chicks, improbably alive, testing voices that rasp with silicate irritation. They are born into catastrophe and know nothing else. The ash has stopped falling. What remains is the test. Can they filter clean water from contaminated sludge? Can their developing bills separate survival from poison in conditions their ancestors never faced? The adults lead them to the edges of the lagoon, where springs of clearer brine seep through the borax crust. Here, the microscopic mesh inside their bills faces its true examination. Sweep, filter, expel 20 times per second. Even in the chick's clumsy attempts, some learn faster, some do not learn at all. Nature makes no allowances for potential. Only function matters here. Only those who can transmute poison into life will inherit this red mirror world. But they are learning. Tens of thousands of gray-downed forms gaining strength daily. Their bills hardening, their filtering becoming more efficient. Soon they will flush rose pink themselves, stealing color from the microscopic algae, announcing their competence to a volcanic world that does not care. The flock prepares, thermals are building, the air density, though forever thin, stabilizes. 35 kilometers per hour, the threshold between earth and sky. They gather for the departure. The elders are white now, translucent, pigment spent. The rose-hued youth do not need them anymore. This is not abandonment, this is completion. The old ones have transmitted everything forward: genetic resilience, behavioral knowledge, chemical tolerance measured in parts per million. What remains for them is recovery or silence. Wings lift in unison. The young ones rise on thermals spiraling upward from sun-heated basalt, leaving the crimson cradle behind. They spread outward across the Altiplano void, 60,000 square kilometers of salt flats and alkaline lakes, each one a potential home, each one testing their inheritance. The obsidian rim recedes. They carry Laguna, Colorada within them now, written in chemistry and instinct. The red mirror stills. Borax islands gleam white against crimson water. Sulfurous vents breathe their sharp metallic signature into thin air. Next season, the specialists will return, driven by ancient rhythm, pulled by chemical memory, seeking the only place where their particular genius allows survival. Where poison becomes sanctuary, where pH 10.5 means home. The ghosts will gather once more. The story continues, written in rose pigment and volcanic ash, eternal as the Andes themselves.